Now, other albums, Eliminator, Afterburner, and Recycler were the next big albums for the band. Eliminator, released in 83, featured Gimme All Your Lovin' and Legs, 2 additional top rock hits, Gimme Pressure, Got Me Under Pressure, and Sharp Dressed Man, okay? Those were, Legs went up to number 13 on the Club Play singles chart. Different audience, different type of music. In fact, the album Eliminator saw the band embrace synthesizers and elements of new wave music. And you know who influenced them on that? Believe it or not, Depeche Mode. Now you think, why would ZZ Top be influenced by Depeche Mode? Again, lots of bands have been influenced by lots of bands. And lots of big groups have been the influence of lots of other people. And often, in fact, I would say usually, these bands have nothing to do with one another. I think of Phil Spector and the Wall of Sound with the Beatles. Now, Long and Winding Road, in my opinion, may be one of the best Beatles songs ever. In fact, it is one of the best Beatles songs ever. In my opinion, it may be the best Beatles song ever. Thanks in part to Phil Spector introducing his Wall of Sound to that song. Now, Paul McCartney was so, he hated it so much. That was the reason he quit the band, because Long and Winding Road, Paul McCartney recorded it with him sitting at a piano. Phil Spector added the Wall of Sound, and Paul McCartney threw a hissy fit and quit. He hated it that much. But other groups, the Raspberries, okay, very mainstream, very pop band. Eric Carmen was the brains behind the Raspberries, were a huge influence on Axl Rose and Bruce Springsteen. I mean, think about it. Look at some of the songs of the Raspberries. Look at some of the songs of Eric Carmen. How could these bands have possibly influenced Axl Rose and Bruce Springsteen? Well, they did. Now, that group or that band or that album, Eliminator, became a huge commercial and critical success. Sold 10 million copies, number 9 on the Billboard pop charts. Several music videos from the album were in regular rotation on MTV. The band also won their first MTV Video Music Award and in the category Best Group Video for Legs and Best Direction for Sharp Dressed Man. Now, the music videos included their greatest hits video, which was later released on DVD and went multi-platinum. Later, lead singer of Survivor, Jimmy Jamison, again, another guy introduced, provide backing vocals in the album after hanging around with the band since the late 70s during different occasions. Now, Gibbons referred to Jamison as the 4th member of the group for being a big fan, contributor, and humble person. So there you go. Survivor and ZZ Top, not the same, well, but influenced. Now, despite not selling as many copies as Eliminator, 1985's Afterburner became the band's highest charting album. Number 4 got to, and it racked up sales of 5 million units. All the sales from Afterburner were top 40 hits. Sleeping Bag and Stages were 2 of them, hitting number 1 on the mainstream rock chart. Music video for Velcro Fly was choreographed. Again, how do you get from here to there? The music video for Velcro Fly was choreographed by Paula Abdul. ZZ Top's grueling Afterburner world tour lasted through 87. ZZ Top 6-Pack was a 3-disc collection that they released, kind of a greatest hits between the 70s and 81. In 1990, they released Recycler, and it was their last studio album under the Warner Brothers record label. Recycler was also the last of the distinct sonic trilogy, in other words, the new old music. They then went to the simpler, more basic guitar-driven blues with less synthesizer and pop bounce than the other 2 albums. In other words, they got back to their roots. And the fan base didn't like it. They really didn't. And they never again really matched the sales of their former albums after they went back to their roots. In 1992, ZZ Top's Greatest Hits was released along with a new Rolling Stones style cut called Gun Love and an Elvis Presley influenced video, Viva Las Vegas. In 94, they signed a $35 million deal with RCA Records. They released Antenna, Rhythmine, and Triple X in the 90s. In 2003, ZZ Top released its final RCA album, Mescalero, an album thick with harsh Gibbons guitar riffs and featuring a hidden track, a cover version of the song As Time Goes By. Yeah, that one. Now, RCA impresario Clive Davis wanted to get with ZZ Top and do a collaboration records, kind of like Carlos Santana did with Supernatural. He wanted ZZ Top to do a collaboration album with Pink, Dave Matthews, and Wilco. Yeah, it never happened. I guess even ZZ Top wasn't going to go that far. Billy Gibbons stated in an interview back in 2011 that the new album had been recorded. An initial recording had taken place in Malibu. They released that album in September 2012. So a whole year later, El Fritura was produced by Rick Rubin. And the first single from the album, called I Gosta Get Paid, debuted as an advertising campaign for Jeremiah Weed Whiskey and appeared on the soundtrack of the film Battleship. Other titles on the song were influenced by rappers. That's right. ZZ Top had influenced by rappers. In fact, Battleship, that song itself, is an interpretation of 25 Lighters by Texas hip-hop DJ DMD and rappers Lil Keke and Fat Pat. Now, the first 4 songs on Futura debuted back in June of 2012 on an LP called Texicali. DJ Screw, another DJ, was a major influence on that album as well, particularly because Billy Gibbons and Screw worked with engineer G.L. Moon in the late 1990s. In 2015, Jeff Beck joined the band on a tour with Blackberry Smoke. This was back in 2015. So Blackberry Smoke opened, and Jeff Beck joined ZZ Top for a concert tour. So I guess he was the 4th guy there. In 2018, they did their, I guess I'd say, what a lot of aging groups do when they stop making music. They started playing Las Vegas. In 2018, the band announced their 6-day run of shows at the Venetian to be starting in April 20th, 2019. Then COVID hit, and that kind of ended there. Now, in a 2019 interview with Ultimate Classic Rock, Dusty Hill stated, "There's a good chance ZZ Top will release a follow-up to Futura. We've got a lot in the can. It depends on how we would want to put it together or redo whatever we have. Because it's years of stuff. We just recorded everything, and then we say, well, this didn't feel right for right now, but maybe it will later." Billy Gibbons also told the Las Vegas Review-Journal in April of 2020 that he, Hill, and Beard have been cooking up another round of wicked sounds for their next album. Now, on June 21st, 2020, Gibbons stated interest in having Jeff Beck make a guest appearance on that album. There's a history there. And in November 2020, it was announced the documentary That Little Old Band from Texas, if you've seen it, it's pretty good, was nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Music Film. Now, back in July of 2021, in fact, this month, Hill was forced to leave the tour after a hip injury, I should say. ZZ Top performed without him at the Village Commons in New Lexus, Illinois, with Hill's guitar tech Elwood Francis on bass. 5 days later, on July 28th, ZZ Top announced that Hill had died in his home in Houston at age 72. Gibbons confirmed that the band would continue with Francis as per Hill's wishes. According to Gibbons, and I quote, "Dusty emphatically grabbed my arm and said, 'Give Elwood the bottom end and take it to the top.' He meant it, amigo. He really did." Now, other appearances by ZZ Top. Super Bowl in 1997, along with the Blues Brothers and James Brown. You remember that. They played at the Orange Bowl in Miami. They played at NASCAR events, several NASCAR events. They played at the Hard Rock Cafe in Houston, all sorts of other places, okay? In 2010, Billy Gibbons accompanied Will Ferrell and others playing Leonard Skinner's Freebird on Conan O'Brien, with Conan O'Brien playing guitar as well. ZZ Top, just a wonderful band, doing lots of good stuff. I really enjoyed them. Sorry I didn't get a chance to see them all together, but we'll see 2 out of 3, hopefully, at the Washington Town and Country Fair. Now, just an editorial. This is not a fact. This is an opinion, but it's an opinion based on what I've seen in the past. How did Dusty Hill die? Well, he had health problems, but those health problems were because of a hip injury. And something you got to remember about these rock and rollers, Dusty Hill was 72. Now, 72 years old doesn't seem that old nowadays. What, 70 is the new 50, a lot of people like to say. But once upon a time, 50 was old, okay? What I'm getting at is, if you have a hip injury and you still want to play music, that's really hard, especially if you're 72 years old. Standing up playing music, and sure, ZZ Top is not they're not exactly a Gene Kelly choreographed band, okay? But they do a little bit of dancing, a little bit of swinging, a little bit of moving. And if you're 72 with a hip injury, how do you plan on getting back to doing that? Painkillers. We've lost so many people to painkillers, not just artists, but individuals who want to try to extend things. Now, I'm not saying that I know anything, but in this case, I think 2 + 2 = 4. Billy Gibbons had a hip injury, and then he died a few days later. People don't die of hip injuries, okay? However, if the pain is unstoppable, unbearable, and you take a painkiller, then you take 2, then you take 3, that can do it. That's how Art Bell died. He had back pain for years, and he would take painkillers for it. He took his painkillers, woke up, hurt, took another one, forgot he had taken the first, and he overdosed. I think that's what he died of. That's just my opinion. But Dusty Hill, rest in peace. And ZZ Top, rock on. Well, that's it. We're done. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. Send me your email address if you want to get a link to the show each and every time I publish it. I'll send you the link. You can download it and listen to it at your leisure. Or you can pick it up on many, many, many different formats. iHeartRadio, TuneIn. Shoot, I can't even go on the whole list. There's a huge list. Wherever you get podcasts, it's there. Trust me, it's there. Or, of course, Spreaker.com. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Have a good weekend, folks. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.